I just want to say thank you for coming. And to me, this is a real delight to see you all. Speaking of delight, I was hoping Chris and Delight could join us. We might put a bug in their ear to be a part of the next event. I have had a wonderful opportunity recently to be on the Wesley board. And in fact, I am serving as the chair. But to have experienced Wesley as I did, it was such a powerful, life-changing experience. It really, in the midst of my life and struggling and trying to figure out where I was headed, to find a place I could call home, and a place that was safe, where I could come and ask questions, and people would be willing to walk through those, especially someone who was in our presence, Gary Putnam. It just seemed like he was always readily and able to take the challenges of the really tough questions that as you struggle with life. And so it has given me the opportunity to see that really, in many ways, Wesley has not changed. It is still an open place that many of our students still call home. And this is particularly important during this pandemic, as many of you know, college campuses are basically quarantined. At Iowa State, they wear their masks. Many of their classes are virtual. They have to go to the room and stay in their dorms. And for those who are seeking a place where they can be in relationship, it's a struggle. It is really a struggle. But many now have found a place where they feel they can relate, they can be themselves, and they can join in the conversation of just where they are and seeking help in the direction that they're going. A place where there's no pat answers or cliches to give you about faith, which was so important to me in my time in life. I've also been able to see as a board chair, as many of us walked through and became pastors during that era of Gary, Padre Putt. They are still coming through and have experienced helping a student by the name of Priscilla Joel, who is now in the process of deciding where she's going to attend seminary. And speaking of somebody who's out of this world, she's an aerospace engineering student who will be graduating basically a year from now, and then heading off to who knows where. But Wesley has been a place where people can explore those ministry or places where they can provide leadership in their local churches. And so I have been blessed to witness and see that many good and wonderful things are still happening. And I have to lift up Jen and Lauren for making, in a challenging time, making opportunities for students to find a place that is safe and that they can continue to call home. So thank you again for coming. I know that you wouldn't have been here if Wesley hadn't made a difference in your lives. So thank you for attending, and hope that you enjoy this time of reunion.
Thanks, Lauren. We are so glad to have all of you here, and it is fun to hear about things like Koinonia House and Sunday suppers and all of the things that were a really important part of Wesley while you were here. I, again, really not even being that far into my tenure here with the Wesley Center, love hearing about those things because we right now are creating new traditions too. So it's so fun to me that every 4 years, we pretty much have a totally different crew of people, that the Wesley is a really dynamic organization, and that allows us to do a lot of really fun things and create really meaningful community like you all experienced. So I want to share a little bit about where we're at right now in terms of what does Wesley look like for us. So I do want to let you know that one really important part of the Wesley Foundation, I'm sure while you were here, and for us now, is our connection to collegiate. And so you might see on some of our collegiate stuff that our purpose is to build an inclusive community that invites all people to experience God's unconditional love, grow in faith, and serve others. And that's Wesley's purpose too. The way that we do that just looks a little bit different than a congregation. And so you'll see we have really wanted to make it clear to the community that we're in a progressive, inclusive campus ministry. And for us, that really means, one, that in being progressive, we're really creating space for people to find their own spot on their spiritual journey and to figure out what the next steps are. There isn't one plan, there isn't one way that God works in our lives. And so we want to create a space that's open to questions and doubts and changing your mind about what you understand about God and the church and the Bible and all of those things. We want to create space for that. We don't have certain things that students have to ascribe to in order to be part of our congregation. We have students participating in our small groups and in our larger community who identify as atheists or even from other religions, but they know that they're able to be here, be respected, and know that they actually have something to offer to our wider community as well. We really believe that God works in very diverse ways, and we want to be really open to that. We also always talk about being an inclusive community. And I know for many people, that's sort of a buzzword or a code word for being inclusive of the LGBTQIA plus community. But for us, while that's very true, we also really want to celebrate the ways that our students are diverse in all ways. We really think it's important for our students to experience people from different backgrounds, cultures, different points of view, so that we can learn and grow from each other. And so you'll see on this document here, this is that's sort of one-page sheet that we want our students to know about. We want our board to be thinking about when we're making decisions. But we really do envision this type of community where we have students from such diverse backgrounds, different majors, different hometowns, different social groups, different races, different extracurricular activities, and that because they're in community together, maybe people that wouldn't find each other otherwise, their lives are better, that they're able to deepen their faith because of that, and they are more in tune with God because they have a better picture of what God looks like through all of creation. And we really believe that the big part of that is creating an authentic and an authentic community that engages in radical love and acceptance. So all that is kind of like our dream of what this is like, what we're aiming for. But the way that we're getting there is through our programming. So you'll see on the bottom, there are 4 different things that we usually engage in. Things have changed a little bit because of COVID. But I do want to share with you where we're at with some of these things so you can begin to get a better picture of what we're doing at the Wesley Center. So these are specific sort of stats from this particular semester, which again is very, very strange. But I want to let you know that right now, even with COVID, we've been really reduced in our capacity to do recruitment and to connect with students in some of the ways that we normally would. Some of it because we want to make sure that we're being very safe and very cautious, and partially because the university has also cut down some of our opportunities this year. However, we right now have 72 students on our list that we have been in contact with that we think would say that the Wesley Center is their campus ministry, that they're a part of our community. And so we really changed our focus this semester to aim our attention into our small groups, because we are able to have small groups and continue to provide some theological reflection and space for people to grow and to build community in safer numbers. So you'll see here, right now we have 48 students engaged in our 5 small groups this semester, which is awesome. That's over half of our students. We have 7 students who are leading those groups. Students are trained to be small group leaders. It's a very important part of our culture and our community here. Beth is one of our small group leaders, so I hope she'll share a little bit about that as well. You can see a little bit here of the types of things that we're doing in small groups this semester. They do change based on student interest, student leaders, and things that are going on in the world. So we have groups that are going out in nature and practicing spiritual practices in nature this semester. We have a group that's reading a book, which actually Beth is the leader for that group. We have a group that's studying the Enneagram, which is a personality type, but they're also taking that and weaving it together with spiritual practices based on those personality types, which has been really, really fun. We have a group for our first year students, which Lauren co-leads with one of our students as well. And they're working through the story of Joseph and how that ties into their story and how that's connected to God's story. And then we have a new group that we just had to start because we had new students that wanted to join mid-semester. And we are doing something called the Awakened Life, practicing living life more fully. So we're really excited about the students who are engaged in that. We find that students really are able to understand what we mean when we talk about community when they're in small groups. It's a place for them to grow. It's a place to feel like they truly belong and are supported. This semester, we are also doing one of maybe a new since I've been here, but I'm guessing there's been Wesley retreats before. I hear about this mountain one, so I'm intrigued. But retreat weekend. I actually have 31 students that have signed up for that retreat, which is, that's a commitment of a whole weekend for them to step away from their studies and from campus. We'll be at Ledges State Park. So I'm sure many of you, while you were here, got to experience the beauty that's out there. And we'll be focusing on spirituality and nature because that's where we'll be. Some of the things that Lauren and I focus on too is it's also really important for us to build relationships with students so that they know that they have someone that they can come to when they're having a hard time or have questions about their faith. And so Lauren and I are really intentional about creating space for students to have one-on-one conversations with us. So over this semester, we have already met with more than 20 students for one-on-one sessions. So some of that turns into vocational formation. Some of that is really more pastoral counseling. Some of it's support. Sometimes we help them find the resources they need to get through what they're going through. And a lot of times those conversations are about their faith and about how they are struggling. I have a student right now who's struggling with the book of Ecclesiastes because they're like, everything is pointless. Why am I doing this? And so it's amazing to have those conversations with them and for them to know that there's a place to have those questions. I'm not going to answer for them. I don't think Lauren answers all of their questions either, but a place that they can have conversation with somebody who's at a different spot in their own faith journey. So that's been really something we've been able to maintain during this time that's been really helpful and important. And finally, what I think Mike was sort of talking about a little bit earlier is, again, our safety has been a really important thing for us this semester. And we know that students were, especially as they were coming in, it was risky for them to be shared space with the congregation. So I don't know how many of you were here when we had the annex. So it's the building to the southwest of the main building. But we've taken that auditorium and turned it into the Wesley Center for students this semester. We've set it up completely socially distanced. So students can come in there, they can study, they can see each other, they can be in contact with each other in really safe ways. Masks are required, hand sanitizing is required. We have students who are engaged in sanitizing the space every single night that we use that. And that's also where our small groups are able to meet. We heard from students early on that it was important for them to be able to be in person with each other. They were more than willing to go through whatever protocols we had set up for them because they wanted to be in the same physical space as each other. And they have been incredible. They have followed every single rule. Those who have needed to quarantine have joined us over Zoom. But we've been able to maintain that space throughout the semester. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, we haven't had any issues there in terms of COVID. So it's been really great. And we've really seen that it's been helpful for students who are especially feeling isolated and disconnected, even with all the Zoom meetings that they have going on, being able to know they can show up there Sunday through Wednesday night and be able to be with people who care about them and who will check in with them and who will love them. So those are kind of our basic stats, but I did want to touch on one other thing because I hear us talking about the Koinonia house. And I know that that was so formational for so many of you. When I came here, we had about 4 students living in that house. And to me, it was this exciting opportunity to really help young people engage in living in intentional community with each other. I learned living in a sorority, what it's like to live with people that you don't always get along with, or who have different backgrounds than you, or who have different patterns of living than you, and how rich it can be when you really learn to be in communication with each other and to really have a set of values that binds you together. So many of you will be happy to know that we still have students who live in the house. We call it the Wesley House now. We don't call it the Koinonia House anymore. And we've actually turned this into an important part of our programming at Wesley. We now call the students that live in their residence. And when they apply to live in the house, they join our residency program. And so we believe that they are in residency here with the Wesley Foundation, with the Wesley Center. And so they are engaged in different ways of leadership development, of being a part of what we're doing. They're the students who are over in the annex, helping us sanitize, welcoming the other students, getting them a snack, being there consistently so that they know, we know that that is taken care of. And so that's a relatively new addition to our programming, but we felt it was so important because we do know so many people who've been affected by the chance to be a part of that. And we really felt like students had the capacity to make a big difference in how that program works. And when we are able to be back together as a full community, there are a lot of ways that those students then also are in residency with Collegiate. They are students who are already deeply committed to our programming and to our community, but we really see this as an opportunity for them to say, I want to be more engaged. I want to be formed by this program. I want to dig in deeper, and I want to be a bigger part of what's going on. So we continue to live into the legacy that you all are a part of creating safe space for students, of helping people find their own spiritual path, and of deeply authentic community that is rooted in radical love. So thanks for being part of that legacy, and for creating a space for students like Beth to be a part of what we continue to do into the future.
Absolutely. So as I said before, my name is Beth Utoff, and I'm a senior now, but I'm only a third-year student. So I came to Wesley in the fall of 2018. And I guess I should have shared earlier, I went to a United Methodist church here in Shueyville. I'm originally from Solon, Iowa. So I went to Iowa State knowing that I wanted to be a part of a community that was faith-based, and I did come in. My mom kind of said, oh, you should check out the United Methodist group on campus. I see them on Facebook and stuff like that. And so I had that in the back of my mind when I came, as well as I did do I think what a lot of students do now is they go to different club fests and shop around a little bit. Apologies. My parents have a grandfather clock, if you can hear that. And so I went around to different club fests and saw what was going on. And I actually met Jen and a lot of the students at lunch on the landing one Sunday morning. And Jen invited me to be a part of the What's Your Story first year small group. And so I read the book and went to small group. And those people, I think there were about 8 or 9 of us, have been like my core group of friends all through college. So we still hang out and obviously are still all involved with Wesley and do small groups and other stuff outside of church together. So I definitely got connected right away with Wesley as a freshman. I also was a part of study buddies. We had study buddies then with peer mentoring students that year, and then last year as well. And then last year I had the opportunity to lead What's Your Story as a sophomore, which was very exciting to learn more about how to lead a small group, and then also to meet incoming students to Wesley and welcome them. And then this year I'm leading what Jen mentioned. We call it Inspired. So we're reading the book Inspired by Rachel Held Evans. And it's just a small group open to anybody who wanted to read the book and talk more about Bible stories and their faith journey. So Wesley definitely has a very important impact on me in my collegiate career and my faith career. I really enjoy the people and the company that I've always received from going to church and then seeing those wonderful people out on campus. And I think I've said to someone before that I think that the nicest people on campus are at Wesley. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Jensen Wilkie. I am a junior studying speech communications, Spanish, and performing arts. I am so thankful for Wesley. Ever since I joined Wesley when I was a freshman, it immediately became a home away from home, and I met so many wonderful people. It's actually now my physical home since I live in the Wesley place, so I'm so grateful for that option as well. I have led small groups at Wesley before, as well as participated in many small groups. I absolutely love our values, and I do not know where I'd be without Wesley. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm so grateful and thankful for Wesley. Thanks, guys.
Introduction. I am the Director of Generosity for Collegiate Wesley, and in that role here today, I want to thank you for attending the reunion. As you've heard from Pastor Jen and from Beth, we've got a lot of great things going on here at Wesley Foundation. Jen mentioned the upcoming fall retreat, caring for all the students, just offering the safe space, and then Beth talking about the small group connection and the opportunity to be a leader. So all this great stuff going on, but then if you know anything about the Iowa Annual Conference, you would be amazed that we are still doing all that stuff, because I really say all this great stuff is happening really despite the lack of financial support from the Iowa Annual Conference. And I have some numbers here that really illustrate that for you. So in 2014, that was the high water mark of the money that we received from the Iowa Annual Conference, and that was $288,000, okay? The 10-year average kind of around that, so 2010 to 2019 was actually $197,000. In 2019, we got $143,000. 2020, so current year that we're in right now, we're on pace for the amount that was budgeted to give to us, which is $30,000, okay? Budgeted for 2021, we really don't know at this point. Those of us who went to annual conference, it's just really up in the air. So that's a big deal, right? Pastor Steve talked early on, actually you all have talked about your experiences at Wesley Foundation, and I know that you have great memories of that. So I would really ask you at this point to consider helping us continue that legacy of the Wesley Foundation. You've heard the wonderful work that the Wesley Foundation continues to do, and we have to continue to pay staff to provide that excellent programming. Now, I know that we're in an interesting time, right? We realize that there are people who are having trouble supporting themselves during this pandemic. If you're in that position, we encourage you to reach out to your pastor or other resources to help you identify how you can get assistance. If, however, you are still in a financially stable position, we really encourage you, first of all, to support your local congregation, but then consider a gift to support the Wesley Foundation. As you've learned from the annual conference numbers I gave you earlier, we have a tremendous amount of income to replace. So there's 3 easy ways that you can support Wesley Foundation right now. You can send us a check to the Wesley Foundation. That's 2622 Lincoln Way, Ames, Iowa 50014. I'm sure you all have that memorized, right? You can donate online. You go to the Collegiate United Methodist Church website and you click on the Give tab, which is up in the upper right-hand corner. Scroll down to the Enduring Gifts section, and there's an option for campus ministry. And there you can make a one-time donation, or you can set up a reoccurring payment to provide ongoing support. And the third and newest thing that we're doing is we have a Venmo account. You can find us and it's at Wesley-Center. Wesley and Center both capitalized. I don't know enough about Venue to know if that's important or not, but that's the address I was given. So at Wesley-Center. So as the Director of Generosity for Collegiate Wesley, I'm available really anytime if you'd like to explore more contribution options beyond just a cash gift now. For example, have you thought about adding a donation to Wesley Foundation in your will? You can contact me at david@cwames.org. I'd love to help you explore all the options you might have for financially supporting Wesley Foundation now and into the future. Thank you very much, and I will turn it back over to Lauren, who's going to get us to our breakout sessions as my phone rings.
Oh, good. May I ask a question about that? Are you looking to raise funds for immediate use, or is there a combination of maybe trying to start an endowment, or what's the plan for all of this?
I'm letting my phone stop ringing, Jillian. Sorry. Zoom calls are great, right?
I'm just glad it was your phone and not ours. So thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go. That's a great question, and some of both. Honestly, we are in the process of, as you just heard, of a really decreasing amount from the Iowa Annual Conference. So we need to pay the day-to-day bills. We need to pay Jen and Lauren to do all the awesome work that they're doing, and the utilities and things like that. I think ideally, then we would also have. I hesitate to use the word endowment, as you probably know, working in the business is a little bit of a loaded word, because it means something very specific. Like you put money in and you can only use the income from the interest. I think there is certainly a place for Wesley Foundation to be thinking, putting things away long term. I don't necessarily want to say an endowment, although we haven't ruled that out, but definitely looking at all the options both now and into the future. Does that help, Jillian?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, obviously there's an immediate need, and that makes all the sense in the world. But I think this need is going to continue, and there are thousands of Wesley alums out there, and so some people may choose to have something that has got more longevity in it. But I think that's great. Good, thank you.
And honestly, I think I don't think that the money is coming back from the Iowa Annual Conference. I'd love to think that somehow that changes, but Patty knows as well as any of us, and she's shaking her head no. We just it's I think the word is depressing for us on the ground trying to do the work to not feel validated by the annual conference, but that's reality that we're going to deal with. So
I just say congratulations to all of you for looking to see, where the other avenues exist. And this is definitely one of the avenues that exists. So thank you.
And I would say too, part of the importance of the thinking as far ahead in the future as we possibly can, especially around funding, which is, why it's so great to have someone like David on our team, is currently we are the only LGBTQIA+ affirming campus ministry at Iowa State. I have said to some people too, we are actually the only non-Calvinist campus ministry at ISU. And so this isn't necessarily just a desire for us to keep our particular campus ministry going. It's a vital need at Iowa State. If we aren't here, there is no safe space for LGBTQ people of faith to go where they know that they will be safe. And so this is, well, I'm very excited and proud of where we are. I feel very passionate that regardless of, where I am or what needs to happen next, is that there needs to be a place like Wesley for students at Iowa State.
Also, I think that this is the most important mission field in the world, in the sense that if the Christian faith is relevant to life at all, it has to be made relevant it is relevant, but in each of the disciplines in which students are, when they're searching for meaning in life, when they're searching for direction, the faith has something to offer to them. And I'm just crushed that the Iowa Annual Conference does not see that. Also, just in terms of clergy recruitment, in the years in about a 50-year period that I've been associated, well, more than 50 years with the Wesley Foundation, I think there are 100 to 150 United Methodist clergy that have come through that Wesley Foundation, and I don't think there are many United Methodist colleges that could make that sort of claim. So it's been a very formational ministry. And one of the things that I enjoyed so much was in seeing alums is how active they are in the local church. One of the things that we struggled with during some of my years was as students would come through there, they got so attached to the style of ministry there that when they would go to their local church, they were looking for something similar, and a lot of local churches couldn't provide that. But through you students who are graduates, you've helped make that happen. And when I get Christmas letters from Wesley alums, it's just so exciting to hear what they're doing in their churches. It's incredible recruitment. There's more to say, and I'll be calm.
I think our Wesley Foundation helps that too, because it's part of the church. Like, I was sort of involved with the Wesley Foundation where I went to undergrad, but it was at a church, but it wasn't. And like, when I was here, we had the Wesley Foundation board that I was part of. And so like, I just felt we weren't separate. We were part of the regular church, which made it, I think it makes it a lot easier as like, an on my own adult, outside of college to be a part of a church, because I mean, I never really left this one, so that helps, but but I think, I understand what the main church does, what the Wesley Foundation does. And so I don't know, it's an easier transition because they weren't really two separate things. My, involvements at the church were involved with church members, not just other college students. So.
Thanks for sharing that, Megan. We wanted to open this time up to if there's any questions. We're going to take, if you have any questions right now, to do that, and then we'll transition to our breakout room time. We move into our next time together.
I'd like, Jen, you mentioned that Wesley's the only non-Calvinist campus ministry. How are the other campus ministries doing there? I mean, is there one over at the Presbyterian Church and the Lutheran Church and
The Catholic
Yeah.
Church?
So I've actually been in contact with the Presbyterian Church. They've invited me to come speak to their group because they do have a campus ministry. It's just not functioning right now. So they just lost their staff person before the school year started over the summer. And so right now they're like, I think they call it like university ministry team or something is thinking about what the future looks like for them. But they invited me and Lauren to come talk because they knew that things were going over here. And so I've told their group too, I'm very grateful that they exist and that they're thinking through this because students do need safe places, but they're not currently functioning. The ELCA Lutheran Church had a campus minister, and my understanding is she had some health challenges and that kind of stopped functioning as well. So when we say we're the progressive inclusive, it's very tentative because we know there are other groups that are working to get going again. But we want students to know that there actually is a community that's pretty solid right now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the rest of the probably lumped together conservative evangelical groups are doing well. But what we are seeing is that some of our students have been going to those and then digging a little bit deeper and asking questions and then being invited to leave. So then they find us. We're like, hi, welcome. We're glad you're here. But we also, we recognize that they're doing what they do very well. And those are still very active groups here as well. So, and then of course the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm.
Some things do not change.
Yeah.
That was issues 50 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And I bet it will continue to be, but what we're seeing is, so like one of the statistics that's, I don't want to say hopeful, but is interesting, at least for us, is that now in high schools, almost 50% of students identify as somewhere on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. So you would imagine that in the next 4 years, when those students are going to college, 50% of the students at ISU are going to be identifying somewhere on there, whether it's gender identity, sexual orientation, romantic preferences, all of those things. If those other groups continue to hold firm to one man, one woman, no variation, those students are not going to have a place, even if they grew up in very conservative evangelical churches that loved them very well. So I don't know if there's going to be a shift, but I do feel like, again, there's a real importance for there to be a group like this at ISU.